So welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed our extra content we had last week. We put out some extra videos just to get everybody through the holidays. And we also have some extra ones coming next week also, it's in addition to our current content. So it's not taking the place. It's just a little special we're having. And I am beat after that. I'm beat like this little guy right here. This is our dog, Biscuit. I caught him sleeping on the bed earlier, and I just had to take this picture because he is adorable and you could just eat him up, right?
Yes, he is. You guys are both cute as anything.
His Snoopy outfit, and if you see him behind Laura, he's sleeping with his Charlie Brown outfit. So he's great.
Yeah. Loving all the extra holiday content that you've been giving us lately. Fun to have some specials, holiday special extravaganza going on.
Right? Yeah, they're fun too. And I thought, it'd be something a little different for everybody. But we have a really good chapter, probably, and I always say this, but this is one of my top favorite chapters. A lot of good stuff that Jon talks about, a lot of good stories in here. And we have a little slide deck for you. So I find it's a little easier to go through. So we'll pop that guy up. So this is Tiffany's furnace and Thoreau's fire. Fail forward. That is the theme of this chapter. So Laura, if you want to talk about the quotes here a little bit.
We have a couple of opening quotes that align with our chapter's theme. Failures, repeated failures, are finger posts on the road to achievement. One fails forward towards success. C.S. Lewis, most fabulous author of all kinds of theological books, as well as children's, I think, and adults' fictional literature. And then Albert Einstein, who you all know, I think for months and years, 99 times the conclusion is false. The 100th time, I'm right. So
yeah, I tell that
further.
I tell it to my boss all the time. It doesn't quite work all the time. So I say, hey, Albert Einstein said it. It must be good.
Right.
So actually, this would be a really, all the items in this chapter would be great to have. When Jon talked about not all of the treasure items would be in this box, and we'll obviously why this one wouldn't be, because it's framed. I'm glad he did speak of that, though. That was good. Just that, not that you weren't really knew it, but just as a confirmer, and we talked about it, so that was nice. I looked at this picture. I didn't try to read the script in here. I don't know. Did you, Laura?
No, I did not.
No. So it could be stuff of importance in there. So I would just call to action, read it and see if you can find anything. Let us know. But we didn't spend a lot of time on that. Not that we didn't think it was important, but
it has the clarity of your handwriting.
It does. It actually is probably a little better than mine.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. And I did learn how to write. It's just, I'm not lazy. But I have some noteworthy quotes. The first one, and they're not necessarily in order of the chapter, but I thought they were really worth talking about. So, and this one goes, and as much as we applaud achievement, we also reject failure. I suppose it's easy, maybe even natural, to make that short leap to believe that if success is good, failure must be bad. Yet this assumption is wrong. The idea that failure is something to avoid could not be further from the truth. Without failure, success would not exist. Failure teaches us, it allows us to progress. Laura, thoughts on that?
There was so much in this chapter that resonated with me. Not just the couple of pieces that he was talking about, the Tiffany glass, which I will probably talk on about for a while when we get to that point and we're looking at it. The pages from Thoreau's journal and all of the context around that and the stories around that. But I also love how he started out the chapter with quotes like this, with that concept of, the United States and coming here and kind of, the place where you can make your fortune, and this quest kind of being a part of our culture to be successful, to be, to be right, to be, and that failing somehow is the antithesis of that. It's so many life stories for me, for my family, for my loved ones, for us, I think came to mind throughout this chapter. I thought this was one of his most beautifully written chapters of all of them, honestly. And this chapter is part of that concept of, success is good, failure must be bad. It really resonated with me. So two quick stories that just as we're chit-chatting that came to mind just in this beginning part of this chapter. There was just so much, but first of all, I thought about that concept of American culture and that whole people coming here to make their fortunes. And of course, my grandfather did that very thing, came from Bulgaria, a farmhand in his very early 20s and ended up making his fortune. And so I can totally resonate with that culture of work hard, be successful, and that being that mandate being set by my grandfather.
Yeah, I think we, and this is how it applies to the hunt, right? This isn't necessarily a directional clue or anything, but I think it is important and valid and needs to be addressed when we are going through this hunt.
Yes.
we are shovel fed this notion that you have to be right all the time. There's this huge call out culture in our society that is quick to call out when you fail and not, look at that as something that is important. It needs to happen. You always said, if, as an excuse of why I never got straight A's, is like, if I got straight A's, that means I'm not learning anything. That means this stuff is easy. I already know it. Right. What are you teaching me? Do
you remember the first time we went boots on the ground and there was this pressure to feel like, oh, we better find something. We spent money to come here and we took the time off and all of this as if we were going to be successful on that first boots on the ground. But that's not what it's about. We could fail 1,000 times in terms of not being successful in locating the treasure that time, but it gives us one more clue closer, or one more area that we've combed, one more, kind of new look at the clues that we were using. It just I love that this chapter framed up that distinction between failure and success and it being a part of the journey.
Yeah, I agree. Because, what's the first thing people ask when you get back? Did you find a treasure?
Sure. Of course.
But, as Mark Cuban would say, you only have to be successful once.
Yeah.
So really, we only have to be successful in finding this box once. We can fail as many times as we want, and that'll get us there. It's so much. I could talk on forever, but we'll go to the next slide on it. And the next was let me read these. The
motifs of all of Louis' enameled works were inspired by nature. As I look at the blue and pink irises on our vase, I can't help but think of the resting places of the boxes I've hidden and the colors of nature that surround each of them. Perhaps you'll pass by similar flowers along your way. I love that.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Right. Why is it 5 degrees outside and we can't be outside hiking through the flowers and the fields, and the irises and the color? I can smell spring.
Which makes me think even more about what the place looks like where he hid any of the boxes, but specifically the lion's share of the treasure boxes.
Yeah.
This here, when I read this, it was so inspiring to even dig more into this. There's days where I think, man, this is going to be found soon or whatever. And then I just had to reel myself back in and, enjoy the process, embrace the failures and celebrate the successes.
Yes, indeed. And I
Oops.
mean, yeah, go ahead. No,
Right.
next one. We've got
Right.
plenty to go through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll pick this one up here. It's The Art of Life, how to live, how to get the most of life, how to extract its honey from the flower of the world. This is my everyday business. I am like the bee searching the livelong day for the sweets of nature. So, Thoreau's saying, don't just go through the motions, be present, be curious, and actually look for the good in everyday life. It's there, but you have to notice it. And then Thoreau idea fits his book perfectly. The value isn't just in finding something, it's in how you search, what you notice, and what you take with you along the way. That's what I got out of it, at least.
Yeah, 100%. And I think all of these quotes are perfect for it. And it really mirrors kind of the journey that we've had over the last year, I think, of, every day being an adventure and looking for the good and the joy and the excitement in it. And beautiful.
Yeah, we do need to be present and be curious. Just don't go through the motions. I mean, how many times do you find yourself? I do. And outside of this as well, just going through the motions, and I think you miss a lot of detail and things when you do that, unless you're mowing lawn or something, right? Or shoveling snow.
Right. We've had plenty of shoveling snow lately. Yeah. And I think, this journey, this quest for the treasure and the wisdom that's coming along with the treasure hunting has made us even rethink, like, how do we want to be spending our days?
Yeah. Exactly.
And not wanting to just, live in the mundane. Time to make the donuts, for those of us old enough to remember the commercial, but instead to really embrace.
Yeah, don't just go through the motions in everyday life.
Yeah.
Because you'll wake up one day, and as Ferris Bueller said, one day life will just pass you by.
You're right.
Paraphrasing, of course, but one of my favorite quotes from the Ferris Bueller movie.
Yeah.
Laura, do you want to take us on the next one here?
Oh, sure. As we grow old, we live coarsely. We relax a little in the disciplines and to some extent cease to obey our first instincts. We are more careless about our diet and our chastity, but we would be fastidious to the extreme of sanity. All wisdom is the reward of a disciplined conscious or unconscious. And then you say, Thoreau's warning that comfort and age can dull our instincts. The people who gain wisdom are the ones who keep discipline in how they think, act, and pay attention.
Yeah. Again, step outside of your comfort zone, right?
Right. Yeah. This kind of as I was reading it, made me think about like the first half of Monday. Every meeting I go into, people are like, what'd you do this weekend? Yeah, nothing. What'd you do? Yeah, nothing. Normal stuff. And just that kind of loss of mission that we can get into, and it just becomes the mundane.
Yeah, I would share what I do on the weekends, but I think I would bore to death my coworkers. Yeah, shot some video, edited, had fun, play with dog, ate some ice cream. Yeah.
Right. I was a YouTube star this weekend.
Yeah. Like, do you really want to hear about my weekend? Or are you just saying that as a obligatory comment? It's like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm glad you asked. It's like,
sit down, I'll tell you.
I'm going to do that one day. Hey, Eric, how are you doing today? Oh, well, not too well. Well, grab a seat. Let me tell you what's going on in my life. Where do I want to start? So the next one we have is decisions based on what I thought would add more commas and zeros to my bank account. Along the way, I neglected many of the things that brought me the greatest joy. Then it later goes on to say, there is a great freedom that comes when you and I let go of fearing to fail. Man, does this resonate with me a lot. I won't get into all of my stories here, but this is another thing, man, just don't walk around with blinders on, is really what I got out of it, and neglect other things around the way. And, when you're doing this treasure hunt as well, again, have that peripheral vision when you're going through this, and, keep an open mind, and, don't fear that you're going to fail. Don't try to think differently because you think you're going to fail on it. Just like don't think differently just for the sake of thinking differently either. But you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I think, one thing that I'll say is that I'm so darn proud of you for all that you have accomplished with our YouTube channel here, right? I think you embodied this when you were just talking about it. Yeah, I've always wanted to do a YouTube. Maybe I'll just do a couple videos, and you set aside that fear of failure and you just dove into it. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about, like trying to monetize it or this being, some sort of side gig. It was just for the joy of it.
Yeah.
And since our last video, we have passed, what is it? 100,000 views?
Yeah, we hit 100,000 views on Friday, which, it's
crazy. This is so crazy. It's only been a handful of months. And it's so, when I think about the number, 100,000 views, like that just blows my mind.
Yeah. And it's funny because, and again, this isn't, about, monetizing or anything, but when people hit the 1,000, hitting 1,000 subscriber marks, like one of those, I don't know, trophies you get as a YouTube person, I guess, because not many, only 30% people that hit that mark. But you also have to have 4,000 watch hours, right? We hit our 4,000 watch hours like a month ago. We're at like 10,000 watch hours.
Yeah, we're not quite to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we're 7 something, but to me, it's just one of those, you put a lot of work into this, and it's like your own little, ribbon,
Yeah. Well, it's totally been for the joy of it, and it has brought us a lot of joy.
Yeah, because we put a lot of effort into it. But not to get off topic here, but there is, I had to put that last line in there. There's great freedom that comes when you and I let go of fearing to fail. I mean, all of my major accomplishments I've ever had in life was that I left a job after 20 years to take a 40% pay cut. Only, to have that job for 5 years voluntarily to come back to my current job. But that 5 years was like going back to school, right? Yes. And it cost me, 40% of my salary to go through, but it was paid off in the end and paid bigger dividends later on. So don't be afraid to fail, and that's just one of many stories I can sit here in Babylon about. And I'm sure, Laura, you have a ton of those as well.
A ton of them. Yeah. Yeah. I am going to diverge just for a moment because we're going into starting to talk about Tiffany Glass for a bit, because, when I think about this, the treasure and all the pieces that we've read about so far, this Tiffany vase is probably in my top 1, 2, or 3 pieces. Like if I could own that, this would be one of them for me. And I think, when I think about glass, I of course think about Flannery, my daughter, who is just the smartest person in my life. She's so brilliantly smart. She studied electrical engineering at one of the top engineering schools in the country. And she, after college, became a software engineer, but that was not bringing her joy. And so she transitioned to starting up her own little business doing stained glass. And so as we're reading this history about Louis Comfort Tiffany, I, of course, was thinking about Flan and how she let go of this fear of failing and started up her own business. And she was not doing it very long before she was making more money in stained glass than she was as a software engineer, which is
may I add, it wasn't like an Etsy shop or anything like that, which there's nothing against, but a brick and mortar in downtown Chicago, right?
Yeah, a brick and mortar in Chicago. And now she's probably a year and a half into doing it full time. Maybe it's just over a year. And she has had the most successful year ever. And it's because she stepped away from that fear of failing. And she is doing things like, she's teaching people how to make stained glass, and she's, learning how to hand blow glass, and it's just, her shop is so incredibly beautiful and wonderful, and I'm so proud of her successes. But like, this whole chapter just resonated Flannery. So if anyone's watching, Flan's glass is
I will put a link in the description too.
Yeah, put a link in the description.
I will.
That would be great.
Well, yeah, I'm really proud of her.
So proud of her. And I think, like, if we ever found a box and this piece was in it, I would want to give it to Flannery.
Definitely.
Because I'm so proud of all of her accomplishments.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So we have another quote here. You want to read that one, Laura?
Yes. So if you want to find the treasures I've hidden, don't demand too much of yourself. You don't have to find them quickly or on your first try. If you do, congratulations. But if you do not, then use your failure as an opportunity to evaluate, understand more, and try again. I would not be surprised if failure winds up being part of the process that eventually leads you to our treasure. Welcome it as much as you are capable. Yes. Is that the best quote ever?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I would like to hear what everybody else found in the chapter as they read through it, but these are our top ones. And, like I said, I don't look at clues as all necessarily having to point to a location, but more so as how to find this box.
Right. And I think it's like, it's not necessarily that this chapter was giving us all these clues lining up. What it gave us was a renewed inspiration, and excitement for the process of going through, because it takes quite a process to discern the clues, to go and look, to rule things out, to readjust your solve.
You have to have the mindset, right? This is like an ultra marathon, right? And you not only have to be able to, pick out and find the different clues in the picture or here or there, but you also have to have the will and the sanity, for lack of a better term, because it's easy to fall off and lose sight and let emotions get involved in looking for your clues. And I think this is, not only, there's probably other things in here as well, but that's what I'm getting out of this chapter a lot. I don't know about you, but
yeah. I mean, I got very caught up as well in the stories of the actual people that he discussed, Lewis Comfort Tiffany, and then of course with Henry David Thoreau and that story. Like, there was just so much good narrative in this chapter as well.
Yeah, agreed. So we get into one last, I believe, before we get into the pictures. You and I can allow failure to teach us, prepare us, and help guide us closer to all things we seek. Let's fail forward with as much gusto as we can. Amen to that.
Absolutely. And gusto is a word that we need to use more often.
I am going to implement that in my everyday vocabulary.
Yes.
I'm going to go to work and say, I got gusto today. So with that, now we get into the Tiffany glass iris. I will let Laura take away on this chapter. Just let me know, or this part, let me know when you want me to advance and you want my commentary on the pictures, because I have found a couple things in the pictures.
Oh, good. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that. So Lewis Comfort Tiffany, of course, is who we're talking about right now. And like, I had a decent familiarity with Lewis Comfort Tiffany, I would have to say, in art history background. Of course, we learned about him. And I also, fun fact, I don't even know if you know this about me. When I was wrapping up college, I had an internship at the Chrysler Museum of Art in Norfolk, Virginia, and they happen to have a pretty decent collection of Louis Comfort Tiffany glass. They have about 1,000 pieces. And so I got to see and be surrounded by all of those while I was doing my internship there. So I was super excited to see this piece. I did a little bit of digging and research because I wanted to learn a bit more about this Favreal glass, it's like this new process that Tiffany created that's almost like enamelware, where the glass is layered over copper and you get a level of iridescence and translucence that's very unique to his glass. So such a beautiful piece. I did actually find a link to Christie's where this piece was auctioned, and there must have been quite a bit of competition on this piece because it sold quite a bit over where they thought it would sell. It was sold in December of 2021, sold for about $25,000. So really a great historical piece of glass vase created by Louis Comfort Tiffany. But
and you said you looked at the bottom and you didn't see anything different than.
Well, yeah. So I do have that image, and I don't notice anything different, but the resolution on Christie's website of the bottom of this piece has a little bit better resolution. Like the little chicken scratch over. So you have LCT, Louis Comfort Tiffany. You have EL, which is a mark that they're uncertain about what it stood for, but possibly that this was an experimental design. And then you see number 47. But to the right of the EL, there's some chicken scratchy looking stuff. That's more clear on the picture on Christie's. So if that has anything to do with what you might be thinking in terms of potential clues, you'll definitely want to cue into that image as well.
Yeah, send me a link to that and I'll put it in the description of the video as well.
Yeah.
So I'll go to the next picture of that is what we're talking about. I didn't find anything around the perimeter of the photo. In the past we've seen that mangy lightning bolt that keeps popping up, or the X.
Yes.
But this one, I didn't see anything. If anybody else seen anything at home, let us know in the comments.
But I do think it's interesting that he chronically chooses this design element of the chewed up old picture look in his images. Like, what is with the tears there in the lower right, the upper right? Are these just artistic choices, or is there some sort of connection?
Maybe it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the shape or type of tears, but rather the chapters with these pictures of these type of tears indicate maybe there's some more substantial clues in there, right?
Interesting. Yeah, could be.
Something to think about different. I don't know if that's true or not, but same with any other anomalies that you see that you can't really put into what is it now, what to do with it type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is maybe it's not the thing itself we're seeing, but maybe that is the watermark of, this is what you need to look at, because all pictures in this book, they have this feature point to this type of clue or something.
Right. That would be
so, and that's what I'm going to do when we go back, because we're going to finish this book at some point, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to start over, and that's when we're going to get into more of level 2 probing.
Right. Yeah, and starting to tie the threads together between all of the chapters.
Yeah, and we'll also put in, speaking of thread, unbreakable thread. We'll cover that in an episode since it's a real short book. But want me to go on to the next picture?
Yeah, please. Let's.
Great. So then there's, this main picture on the page. Now, I cut up the picture a little bit on these slides to indicate what I saw. Now, Laura and I talked about this before. There is a lot on this page, and how I do it, or how we do it, I think I can speak for Laura, is not necessarily get into the old Rorschach test of what are we seeing hidden in these, to a degree that we're going to spend a lot of time on it. Because what do we end up doing after we see something? Now, what do we do with it, right? Specifically in this one, there's some items that popped out, but we're I don't know, it had me thinking a little bit, but I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with it. And since there's clues throughout the book, our approach, at least, or my approach on this one, is to point out the obvious things. Now, if you want to, go ahead and dig deeper, that's great. And I encourage you to do that if that's how you look for your clues. But I did see an arrow on the top left, and they're sort of blown up. And then in the middle between the two trees, and they're pointing down. One's got a little slight curve pointing down, and the other one is pointing down. Now, could this mean just all the debris that, it's in the fire went up and then the debris is falling down? It can mean a lot of things. Arrows, they seem pretty important in a treasure hunt, but arrows by themselves, what are they pointing at? Maybe it's another thing, like, when you understand the meaning of the chapter along with the picture, it can have something. Right now, as of this moment, I don't know what these are or what they're supposed to indicate, but something to worth noting on. And when we go back through it, we'll utilize the stuff we learned in here and then apply it. So,
yeah, last week when we were discussing a drawing of his, the Michael Jordan one,
yeah,
I believe it was, I had said that every time we see a hand drawing done like this, that he's added to the book for the sake of the stories. I feel like there have got to definitively have to be clues in here, or he wouldn't have chosen to make the images.
Right.
So I don't think we can discount these images, but I also, to your point, you can also see a clue anywhere you want to see a clue, and it may not be legitimate, right? But as you were talking, and I was kind of re-examining these images in the tree on the left, as you're kind of looking up to the smoke, is what we're thinking, or the fire that going up out of the tree. That to me almost looks like a river.
Yeah.
On both, maybe on all three of the kind of trees, I get a sense for like what a river looks like when you're looking at a map. And so I wonder if there would be any value in overlaying this over a map in some sort of way.
Yeah.
But it really is a pretty image, and I think captures that sense of the story. But the arrows that you have picked out, I think those are probably significant.
Yeah. And we'll look at a closer one here on the next, and this arrow is now pointing at that little, I don't know,
lightning bolt thing.
Or I don't know if it necessarily, if this is like the lightning bolt on the one on the top arrow, and there's another, it looks like half arrow on that, but down, but it does like a bird flying maybe, or a letter E, or a
letter E,
M that's twisted. Again, not sure what to do with it. The whole purpose of this run through is to identify and capture things that stick out. And this is our process, right? And when we capture these, so when we go through it again, we're going to put it all together. And I'm excited about going through this again.
I am too. Yeah, I really am. How close are we getting though? I don't read ahead.
Well, we're on chapter 14. There's 23 chapters. Then we have to cover Joyce Serenade. Then we have to cover the rest of the book. Right. But,
so we still have quite a bit to go till we get that point. But I think that this image, I'm anxious to get to the point where we go back and look at each one of these images that he created for the book all together. Maybe you could do that for me at some point when you have free time. Put together a document with all of the...
Like a slideshow?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah, I'll do
All
that.
the images that he created,
I'll work on that.
so that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll put
I think
that
that
on. And
might be
maybe
something.
we'll do an episode. We just go over we'll do like a big long episode where we go through all the pictures.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
But we have to get through the book first.
We do. We have to get through the book first.
And then here's the other picture of that arrow, a close up, that other arrow. And it looks sort of, now I look at it, like to the upper left of the arrow, it looks sort of like a flagpole with a flag on top of it. I don't know. Again, we could, and then it looks like a crow, and or I don't know. Again, it depends on how much sleep I get at night, and if I have running a fever or not is what I see in these pictures. So,
right.
But then we get to the bottom part, and I have another slide where we zoom in more, but you start seeing more pieces, more different shapes, and like I said, at this point, you can spend a lot of time looking into it. And I'm not saying that there's not important stuff in here at all. What I'm saying is that there are things to look at. And again, my approach, how I'm going to do it is, since there are multiple clues in both text and picture, is, capture things that stand out or could potentially have something. And then when we go through it again, line it up as confirmers or supporting things that can support our solve, and say, oh yeah, that arrow makes sense now, or that squiggly mark makes sense, or that thing that looks like a giraffe or whatever, makes sense.
Right.
To do, because we do have a closer up picture of this as well. So there's a lot of symbols, there's a lot of shapes, there's a lot of abstract things, a lot of gradation in the blacks going into the lighter colors, which could always hide things as well, or make things pop out. I don't know what your thoughts looking at this, Laura, was.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things that I see, that to me, what looks like a heart turned on its side.
I see that. I'm looking at it too.
And then to the left of that, the shape almost reminds me of like those cow skulls that are used in like a cow. Yeah. And there's so much here. Like also all the way to the right, but underneath the tree, it's kind of like a triangle with an arc underneath it.
UFO or something.
What is a UFO? Piece of watermelon? I don't know what is.
Yeah, like a pyramid. I don't know. I guess if you connected the white space in between it with lines, it would look like a pyramid shape.
Right. Yeah. Yes. But there are so many shapes and so many interesting things here. Also, I have to wonder if it's not an actual location. Like, when he hid the boxes, did he take a photograph? Surely he did. Photographs of where he left it so that he could find it again, right? He needed to appropriately document where he left the boxes.
Right. Yeah.
And then did he use any of those photographs as inspiration for the artwork that he was going to create in conjunction?
Yeah. Well, in the Pokemon chapter, I know you're not into the part 2 as much, but there's a picture in the back of the Pokemon box chapter that is, obviously it's modified, but it is of a location he was.
Wow.
So, possibly, I don't know. I'm not even get into what it could possibly be or whatever or what it's trying to tell us, because that's a different chapter. But just your point that we know he said in one of the interviews that, that picture was an actual place that he was at.
Wow.
So I know I was like, boing, wow,
All right.
So then we have the last of the 2 pictures. This is a blown up picture. This is obviously, the one I believe, that is not in the box, but one you would get when you notified John, when you found the box. Pretty cool. I would love to have this in the house. That would be pretty neat. I don't know what your thoughts on, just high level thoughts on this one.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and it was interesting. I hadn't heard of that whole forest fire story before, and kind of how that may have impacted Thoreau's mindset and approach and the things that became passionate about. Like, it was a great story.
Yeah, failed forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it made me even more interested in this kind of relic of his writings, which were so influential on the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's beautiful.
But I did find something interesting. And this is located in the top middle of the a frame, and it appears to have an arrow in there. So if you're looking if you're looking dead center to the right, just a tad, there's an arrow pointing down. Now there's other markings on here. I don't know if that's just the wood and the condition of it, but the arrow, I mean, I guess the arrow could also be an anomaly. I mean, I've seen other weird anomalies in things before that weren't intentionally put there, but it pointed out because of the arrows in the other picture. My eyes were drawn to this arrow, but what can it be? Look down. Maybe it's telling you maybe it's telling you to read the journal that's on there on the page. I just had that revelation now. Maybe it's telling us to look and read the print in there and see if it matches the original or if there's anything changed in there.
Wow.
And I'll give that homework to you, Laura, because you're smart.
Yes. I feel like I have more research to do out of this chapter after our dialogue.
So we'll have that as our call to do something, right? Call to action.
Yeah. Call to action.
That's our call to action. So
you have homework to put together pictures. I am going to research more about the page.
Yeah, and Biscuit is sleeping behind you in his Charlie Brown shirt. Say hi, Biscuit, to everybody. He's such a great dog. I love that dog to death. So thank you for sticking around on this. And your homework tonight, or until the next time, is to try to figure out what's in the journal and all that. And with that, I hope you enjoy what we have in store for you coming up this week. I know I'm going to enjoy it a lot. So with that, have a great week. Stay warm and stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.